call this meeting to order. It's Wednesday, May the 21st. We're starting out regular session. Can I please get a roll call?
Mr. Blades?
Present.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Present.
Mr. Heyman?
Present.
Mr. Gorman?
Present.
We have 4 present. Mayor Endicott is attending LAFCO in Bakersfield and at some point is going to call in, and it is noticed on the meeting, so he will be participating at that point, once we notice he's on the call.
Right, currently he is.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. And I guess if we need to, we'll note it as he comes in, or
Yes.
does not.
I'll notice it on that.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. So now we're on to approval of the agenda. Can I get an approval, or if I understand it, we do have some changes to make
change.
before we approve?
Yeah, item 3, we're going to pull off consent, and if we could hear it as a discussion item, and if that's okay with everybody, we'll just put it as the first discussion item,
That
right
sounds-
before item 5.
That sounds great to me. If I can get an approval with the changes of moving item 3 to discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion carries.
All right. Time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief, would you mind leading us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Rajaratnam, if you would.
Please join me in prayer if you would. Lord, thank you for giving us this day. I pray for this city where we live and cherish. Lord, pray for our country. Give wisdom to our leaders to take this country in the right direction. Lord, let this country be a beacon of hope for many other countries. Lord, I pray for our troops who are in harm's way. Protect them from all evil. Lord, I pray for our police department, the first responders who take care of this community as and when needed. Lord, bless them and bless their family. Lord, thank you for giving us this opportunity to be on the city council. Lord, as we talk about matters which are beneficial to this community, guide us and lead us. Bless each one of us who are here. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen. So now we're on to presentations, and I'm going to ask the council to come down to the podium, and we have 3 different presentations. So I believe it's we're going to be presenting to, I believe it's Andy, not Elliot Duff, but Andy, for his retirement. We're going to recognize Public Works Week, and Emergency Medical Services is going to be a long presentation, but I appreciate you guys being here. Would you guys mind meet me down the podium?
Andy, would you like to come on down? And if you have any family members that'd like to join you, you can all come down and all right. So it's my honor tonight to present this proclamation from the City of Ridgecrest in honor of Andy Duff on the occasion of his retirement. Whereas Andy Duff began his full-time career with the City of Ridgecrest on November 28, 2000 as a maintenance worker 2 for the Parks and Recreation Department. And whereas Andy Duff has been a valued asset to the city, maintaining certifications such as aquatics facility operator, backflow prevention throughout his tenure. And whereas Andy Duff has consistently demonstrated exceptional professionalism, dedication, and teamwork, frequently stepping into leadership roles when needed. And Andy Duff has retired after more than 24 years of faithful and honorable service to the City of Ridgecrest and its residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the City Council of the City of Ridgecrest hereby recognizes and expresses its deepest gratitude to Parks and Recreation Maintenance Worker 3, Andy Duff, for his outstanding service and commitment to the community, and extends best wishes for fulfilling and well-deserved retirement effective March 8th, 2025. Presented this 21st day of May, 2025 by our mayor and fellow council members. So Andy, thank you for your hard, dedicated service to Ridgecrest. Those of us that have lived here a long time, it's good to see folks that are committed to the town and want to stay, and we appreciate everything that you have done for the community, and we'll miss you. And the part about the aquatics facility operator, I'm going, sure you don't want to stick around, and we may recruit you back in a short time, but.
That's right.
So anyway, all right, so we're proud to have had you serve the city this long. So is there anything that you would like to maybe say?
No, it's been a pleasure to work for the city. I appreciate all that you've done for
Right.
it. That's it.
You betcha. So thank you, sir.
Hi, my name's Narissa Wegner. I'm the Parks and Rec Director. I've had the pleasure of working with Andy for the last almost 9 years. Today, we have the honor of celebrating the retirement of someone who has truly been a foundation of our team for over 24 years. When you think of what it means to be a dependable colleague, Andy's name rises to the top. Through every challenge and every change, Andy has been the steady, reliable presence we could all count on, always there, always prepared, and always putting in the effort to get the job done right. But Andy is far more than dependable. He's driven. He never settled for good enough, whether it was learning a new skill, adopting a new system, or helping refine a process that could make us better. Andy constantly looked for ways to improve, not just himself, but for the whole good of the whole team. Over these past 2 decades or more, Andy hasn't just done his job. He shaped how the job is done. He's been a mentor, a sounding board, a problem solver, and a quiet leader. He leaves behind a legacy of excellence, not only in results, but in the way he carried himself, with humility, professionalism, and integrity. While we're going to miss him more than words can express, we're also excited for what lies ahead for him. Sorry. Where was I? After all of these years of hard work, he's earned the next chapter, one filled with rest, adventure, and hopefully a lot fewer early morning alarms. Andy, thank you for your dedication, your wisdom, and your unwavering commitment. You've left a mark on this place and in all of us, and we wish you the best in retirement. You've more than earned it. Congratulations.
Thank you for that.
Do you guys all want to go for a picture? Do you want to bring your family down and get a picture as well? Yeah, please do.
Good evening. It's my honor to present the National Public Works Week proclamation. Travis, are you receiving this or? I've got a group of people here. Okay, would you please come up here? We really appreciate the hard work you do for this community. Without your community, we are nothing. Without your support, we are nothing. So really appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you.
A proclamation of the City of Ridgecrest, California, National Public Works Week, May 18th to 24th, 2025. Whereas the Public Works Department provides services for our community and are a vital and integral part of our citizens' everyday lives, and whereas the support of the community is vital to the efficient operations of public works system and programs such as water, sewers, streets, fleet maintenance, building maintenance, wastewater treatment, solid waste collection, and airport operations. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works officials, and whereas the efficiency and effectiveness of the qualified and skilled staff contribute to the quality of life that residents and visitors alike enjoy and rely upon from the city of Ridgecrest. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the mayor and city council that we recognize and extend appreciation to our dedicated and skilled staff, and hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to 24th, 2025 as National Public Works Week. And be it further proclaimed that the mayor and city council requests that all citizens and civic organizations acquaint themselves with the issues involved to proclaim public works services to our community and to recognize the contributions which our public works employees make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Presented this 21st day of May 2025, signed by Mayor and City Council members. Congratulations to all of you.
I couldn't do anything that we've done without the people and many more that are not here tonight behind me. I appreciate each and every one of you, your dedication, your ability to tackle any problem I throw at you, and your willingness to help all the other departments. Without you guys, I would be nothing, this city would be nothing, and I'm truly honored to work with you.
Sean, have a speech or?
We serve, we will serve.
Yeah. He only does that for later.
My friends, good evening. I have, we'll try to accomplish our honoring Emergency Medical Services Week in sort of a shotgun effect. You'll forgive the terminology. And I'll start with the Ridgecrest Regional Hospital staff with the reading, and then skip the reading for the others and bring you up as a group. I think when I do the, ablom is not being fussed over when things change. So this is a proclamation by the city of Ridgecrest honoring Emergency Medical Services Week. You all have at least this one glorious thing in common. You've all probably saved a life, which I think is remarkable. Whereas the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency medical care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, and others. And whereas the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills, and whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value of the accomplishments of emergency medical service providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, the Ridgecrest City Council, in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim the week of May 18th to 24, 2025 as Emergency Medical Services Week, with the theme for this year being, quote, "We care for everyone," unquote. We encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities, and extend a heartfelt thank you to the Ridgecrest Regional Hospital staff and all the first responders in this community. Would the hospital staff step forward first, please, or are they?
They are, but I'll accept on their behalf.
Okay. And your name, sir?
Brian Bassett, Director of Emergency Services for Ridgecrest Hospital.
Brian, congratulations.
Thank you.
Stay nearby, and if you'd like to have a few words, it's all yours.
We would just like to thank the council and the city of Ridgecrest for their continued support and honoring our services this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Next group up would be Liberty Ambulance Group. I didn't know there were so many of you. Who wants to take the proclamation and guts up and say a few words?
I'm okay. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, it's working out. It's awkward, but it's working out. And the Kern County Fire Department is also in this. Which station? Both?
I'm Battalion 8, which is this northeast area, and we have both stations represented.
Terrific. Terrific. And finally, the Ridgecrest Police Department. Oh, my goodness, you're already up here. That would be Chief Isaac. Watch, I'll ask him to say a few words.
Be here all day. It was Police Week last week. We're happy that they included us in EMS Week. All the stuff that all these fellows and ladies do is very important for our community. We're a very, very small part of that operation, but we're happy we have our little piece. So thanks for having us on your team.
Thank you, Chief. If you would, you're invited to step forward for a wide-angle shot for the newspaper. I'll get this chair out of the way.
There's enough there, and I think it's fine if we're not in it.
We did it. Okay.
We're on to public comment of items that are not on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the council on matters that are within the council's jurisdiction and do not already appear on the agenda may do so at this time. Council will not respond to any public comments, but may provide direction to staff to collect information. Pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not act upon an item that does not appear on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes. The public comment section of the agenda is limited to a total of 1 hour. Each speaker is asked to provide his or her name. Are there any public comments from folks on the floor?
Good evening, Council. Tom Wecknick. I just want to open up with the fact of, I watched the last meeting, and the last meeting was very enlightening in two different areas. Those two different areas have to do with just about every person's campaign promises of transparency and listening to the public. I was very shocked to hear the answers to Scott O'Neill's question about people showing up and letters going out about the water situation, and that apparently it was decided behind closed doors, and there was a vote taken apparently, and everybody authorized the action to take place. And when Mr. Lemieux was asked about this, he brought out a brand new term that I'd never heard of, at least as far as the city representative. And that was, I've sat up there twice, two different terms, and I've served in a number of executive sessions, and he used words I'd never heard before when it comes to executive session: attorney-client privilege. Last time I checked, while the city council hires the city attorney also works for the people of Ridgecrest. Does that mean if we talk to the city attorney and he gives us advice, we have attorney-client privilege? Just in the conversation? Does that mean that there's been numerous times where when I served, I was asked to represent the city at some meeting or some negotiation, and every time I did that, there was an agenda item put on the agenda. It was open to public comment, and I mean every single time I represented the city on a position, political or otherwise. The council voted on it, they gave me instructions how to represent the city, and I went off and did that. No secret. Wide open for the entire council and the city to have input and comment on it. I mean, I even represented the city in negotiations for land, but yet it was disclosed to the people before I did that. So that has to do with everybody campaigning on transparency. Well, let's just do it in secret in executive session. And oh, by the way, it came out by accident because somebody happened to notice that a group of people went up there and represented the city. Isn't that interesting? And Scott O'Neill then brought it to everybody's attention through a letter to the editor as well as through social media. And the reaction on social media was not polite for the most part. Next, I'm going to talk about public comment, that you all sit up there almost every meeting and you say, I want to hear from the people. I want to hear what the people have to say. And then you talk about an issue or agenda item, no matter what it is. People come down here and make their comments, and then quite often, after the person makes their comments, one of you, or the mayor at least, says, thank you for your comments, I appreciate it. That's what we expect to hear. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Public. We said we want to hear it, we want to hear it. But not when it comes to water and the people representing the city. Mr. Gorman, Skip Gorman, asked for an agenda item to be put on the agenda to let the public voice their concerns. And the mayor supported that recommendation. But then, 3 of you did not support that. For whatever reason, and nobody gave a reason. It was just a consensus discussion run by Rika Charlon, the city clerk. And she, rightfully, from what I saw from home watching, there was 3 people that did not want to hear from the public about the water issue, and 2 people that did want to hear. Now, I've got nothing personal against you guys, but doggone it, what is wrong with setting an agenda item. I've been on councils before, and I've asked for agenda items, and I was never denied anybody asking for a for an agenda item. Anybody on the council could do it. I never saw it denied, but I did last meeting. That was very discouraging, that you don't even want to hear from the people. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Neal. I will have a few things to say about what Mr. Whitney just talked about, but I'd like to start off with just a few factual bits of information about another thing that bothers me in Ridgecrest, and that's the camera system that watches us 24 hours a day on almost every street, major street in town, called the Flock Safety, quote-unquote, system. This is the information right off the city website. So apparently at this point in time, if this is accurate, we have 16 what they call owned cameras, which I find that a strange term because I believe we're actually leasing them from the company, but that's what it says. It also says that the data is used for law enforcement purposes only, and that the data is owned by Ridgecrest, California Police Department. That's also interesting because when I put in a public records request asking for information about where I was seeing it, at what times over a certain period of time, they said, oh, we can't give you that because we could only get it doing a search. It's basically, they're acting like it's not really the PD's information. It belongs to Flock Safety, and they have to, get permission to access it. So maybe they should correct their terminology here on this page. Further information states that, now get ready for this, vehicles detected in the last 30 days. Almost, well, let's just say 59,000, rounded down. 59,000 pictures of your citizens minding their own business, most of them obeying the law in the last 30 days. Then they have a hot list, which is not totally defined, but I basically understand it to be somebody, the alert's out and they're looking for them. Almost 500 times in the last 30 days. It seemed like, wow, it makes it sound like we've got a lot of criminals coming through Ridgecrest. I didn't know it was that bad. And then searches, which is where an officer gets on the computer and looks for the photographic evidence, 116 times in the last 30 days. Just for your information, just so you know. Now, as far as the meeting in Bakersfield, over AB 1413 and 1466. I watched the whole thing and noticed that the majority of people were opposed to that, and the reason they were opposed, which was the best reason, absolutely, was that it attacks due process of law in California. It's just simply an underhanded sleight of hand trick to force courts to kowtow to data gathered and declared as GSP documents, and that they want to make it into that. That's it. No more discussion. That's really a ridiculous position to take and a ridiculous approach to make. But what I thought was really kind of ridiculous was towards the end, after having gone to Sacramento, as I understand, Mr. Blades, Heyman, and Ron Strand on our dime, they go to Bakersfield again to try to make sure that they get pushed these bills, and Mr. Blades says, it's the city's position, we support these bills. That lit up a light bulb in Mr. Couch's head, and he then proceeded to say, well, was there ever an agenda item? Well, instead of Mr. Blades asking, kind of like in the Three Stooges, back and forth, stand up, go back and forth, little routine, Mr. Strand goes up and says, no, there was never an agenda item to discuss this point. So I guess, maybe Mr. Whitney understands how it went, but as far as I'm concerned, the city does not support these bills. There's never discussion up here. Last meeting, you guys wanted to suppress discussion of this, and I'm completely reviled by this. I just cannot understand such a blatant attempt not to be transparent and open with the public. And especially if you're spending our dime making travels over to support things that you know a whole bunch of people in this town do not support that overly expensive pipeline. You got major groups, business groups in this town, in open opposition to it, and yet you pull these machinations to try to twist the political process in its favor. And I am just really, I hate to make statements like this in public on the record, but I will. That disgusts me. We could do a lot better than that. A lot.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Do we have any more public comments? Anybody on the phone? Yeah, yesterday it was kind of like a low battery or something. Okay. All right, I don't see anybody else on the floor, so we will move on to council announcements and direction. Mr. Corman, do you have anything?
I don't right now, thank you.
No, none here.
Yes, sir, I do have one item to talk about. I want to go back to last city council meeting where Councilman Gorman has proposed public discussion of AB 1413 and AB 1466 and voting on whether to support those bills or not. I know we are all trying to do the best for this community. And Rika, I know you do a great job, so I always appreciate what you do for us and for this community. So I was kind of taken aback when city clerk asked for consensus of the council for Councilman Gorman's proposed item. I always thought that it is a privilege of council members to request an item on the agenda, and it does not require consensus. I'm assuming that our city clerk is doing what he was told to do. I was still processing that at that time and hence could not react to the consensus call immediately. And I went back and looked at several videos and we were not consistent. There were so many agenda items which was put on the agenda without the consensus of the city council. Neither Brown Act nor Robert's Rules of Order does require consensus for adding items to the agenda. As per my research and understanding, under California's Brown Act, a member of the city council can request that an item be placed on the agenda. I might be wrong, maybe the legal interpretation might be different. My direction here to the staff is to look into this and give the council proper advice. If we want to have consensus, then we should have a written policy approved by council. That way we have consistency in what we are doing. Although I personally feel that it's a privilege of one council member to put an item on the agenda. So I really appreciate the staff looking into in this matter and giving us advice and getting back to us at the earliest possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Solomon. So I have the same, I was always under the understanding that we follow Robert's Rules of Orders, and part of the Robert's Rules of Orders is we have a consensus for what's going on up here, especially for what's, because I have had the opposite where I've wanted something and it didn't happen. So I'm open to hearing your interpretation and your direction, Martin, on that. Or I mean, I don't know if you have to do it right now, but it's up to you.
Certainly, I can take a deeper dive into the issue. Robert's Rules of Order are fairly complex, and they're really not well applied to public agencies. I know that our code provides for that as a fallback. If there is no other custom or rule, we fall back to Robert's Rules of Order. But I will take a deeper dive on it. As far as Brown Act, I'm not aware of a Brown Act provision that allows a single council member to put an item on the agenda. Many of the public agencies that I've served have rules, basically. They're council policies, and those policies provide for processes by which an item can be agendized. Sometimes it's consensus, sometimes it's, two members, mayor and the manager. There are various combinations. So I think in any way, such rules can obviously be put into place if council desires those in policies and procedures for meetings in our town. I will take a deeper dive on Robert's Rules of Order with regard to that issue, but generally speaking, this council does not in any way follow the Robert's Rules of Order in the way they proceed. So again, it is there as a fallback position, but
yeah, open the correction.
customarily, we've never really followed them. But I will, for next meeting, I will have an answer for you on that issue.
Sure. Open a correction on how we're supposed to properly proceed. I'm open to that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the other thing is, what machinations was the correct term. What we saw in Bakersfield was a lot of political theater. What we've seen printed is a lot of political theater in games. And while it is exhausting and exasperating, nevertheless, it is apparently part of the job. So now we have, what time? It is 6:40, so we've noticed that the mayor signed on at some point. Okay, so Mayor Endicott, if you have any comments for council announcements direction, feel free.
So this is really awkward and uncomfortable. I'm just standing over. I can't see anybody, but I can hear you guys. I don't have any announcements or direction.
Yep, we see a lot of Mayor Endicott on a big screen.
Floating orb.
Just looking down into the camera.
Yes.
Okay,
I don't even have a seat, so.
All right, we will move on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and non-controversial by city staff. Consent items may be approved by one motion if no member of the council or audience wishes to comment or ask questions. If comment or discussion is desired by anyone, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and will be reconsidered a listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the city council concerning the item before action is taken. There are 4 consent items, and they are listed on the posted agenda. I think there are actually 3.
There are 3.
Because we removed number 3 to discussion. Can I have a motion with changes?
So moved.
Oh, and before we vote, I would like to ask if there's any member of the public, if they would like to have anything pulled. Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay. We'll go for a vote.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
And Mr. Endicott?
Aye.
Motion carries 5 ayes.
All right. So we'll move, did we want to move it to the beginning, number 3?
Item 3, so we can have Travis come up.
Okay, well, I'm on to discussion items. So Travis, if you want to come up for item 3. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, council and mayor, wherever you might be right now. So the item we have before you is our typical notice of completion, but when we did this project, we added quite a few things there right at the very end after we got a rain event to which we saw runoff coming from the tennis courts and washing all the new wood chips we put off, as well as after discussing with staff and the issues we've had with lighting over at the Leroy Jackson Sports Complex, we decided to install additional remote timers so that way we can turn on each field's lighting individually. This will save all of our sports groups money, as when you turn on the lights for one softball field now, that one softball field comes on. It doesn't turn the lights on everywhere. If you turn on the lights for the football field, just the football field lights come on. If you want to turn on a singular Matt Armstrong field, you can turn on a singular Matt Armstrong field. So With that, we are coming back to council to ask for an additional $156,100, and if I could get to the right one, I could give you the right number, $119.69. So we can complete this project with enough funds from General Fund Reserve, which is where council authorized the little bit of additional funds we had previously asked for. And with that, I am open for any questions.
Council, Mr. Gorman, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
Dr. Hammond? No? Solomon, nothing? Okay, what about public comments, anything? Mr. Neal? Oh, I will, sorry. I forget that you're out in virtual land, Mayor. Do you have any comments before we take public comment?
Yeah, I think the idea to have individual lights instead of mass lights is going to save money. I think that's a good use. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Mike, go ahead.
Hi. Once again, Mike Neal. So I've been out to that park numerous times, maybe once or twice a week. I take walks out there around the walking path, which personally, I didn't think that you really needed to do anything with that other than pour concrete in the middle of what was there. But you spent all that money to make them wider, and you also added these pads with shade, which seldom ever shades the benches that are put there. So I don't understand that. But what I really don't understand, and I actually asked Travis about this, and it was explained to me that the benches around the whole perimeter of the soccer fields on the walking path, they are perpendicular to the fields, I think, except in one case. And they're there supposedly for people who are out to take a walk to stop and sit and take a rest. And if you need to rest every 50 yards, you're not doing too well, but I guess if you're out there not doing that well and walking, you deserve a place to sit down. However, you can sit down any way the bench is oriented, and I just think they need to change the benches and point them towards the soccer fields, because people are going to sit on the benches when the soccer games are going. They're going to watch them. They don't care if they've got to sit sideways. So you might as well accommodate what the common, like 90% use of those benches is going to be, and get there and cut off the bolts and move them and point them towards the soccer fields and make them more usable.
Thanks, Mike.
So I do have an explanation for why they are that way and why the whole walking path was pulled out and redone. As we all know, ADA compatibility is an absolute huge concern for any city because it puts a ton of liability on us. So the walking path was not currently ADA compliant with the way the curbs were. We had multiple running slopes and cross slopes that would have exceeded the maximum percentage. And per the code right now, anything that we put in has to be ADA compatible. And that is the reason why the benches are turned sideways. I think it could be definitely something that we could consider expanding the width around the benches so we have the full turning radius that is required for a handicapped person to be able to utilize the benches or be on the pad. And that is something we could look into doing in the future if council so wishes.
Thank you. Okay, there's no further questions, no comments from the public. Then we will bring it back to the council. Any further discussion? No? Travis, Mayor Endicott, do you have anything? All right. Can we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
Mayor Endicott?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to discussion item number 5. Annual AB 481 Military Equipment Use Report. Chief, you're up.
It's not fair, mine's more complicated than yours. But I'm not going to ask for any money. Mayor, thanks for joining us remotely. Council, thanks for having me. This is the annual required AB 481 discussion about our military equipment. This law went into effect in 2021. The government of California listed several items as military equipment and required us to confer with the council and get these items approved for purchase, use, and advise of the ongoing costs of these things. To be clear, when we talk about military items, very few of the things that we use actually transfer directly to the military, but they're on that list, so we want to make sure that you and the public are aware of them. We have had a public meeting as required by law and posted our policy and our report online. So the last part is to confer with you folks to make sure that you continue to be in agreement with the things that we have and anything we are doing to move forward. Examples of military equipment are unmanned vehicles, also known as drones, our armored rescue vehicle, commonly referred to as our Bearcat, command and control vehicles, which we have a truck that's technically a command vehicle, but it's a Toyota Tundra, so you can see where it's not really military equipment, but it's on the list. There are multiple categories. On the screen, you can see that we do have equipment out of 6 of the categories. They're listed there, and we'll go over them each during this presentation. We use our Bearcat armored rescue vehicle. We've had it for about 2 years now. You can see on the screen we've had 17 deployments. About half of those are community events and things like that, and the others are for the crisis response unit, or what was previously our warrant service team, out there getting high-risk fugitives off the street. We utilize light sound diversionary devices, commonly referred to as flashbangs. We use those on 16 deployments, 8 were training, 8 were operational. Normally, we use those in the process of serving search warrants. We converted 30 shotguns this year from firing a normal 12-gauge round to exclusively for the use of launching a beanbag projectile to convert them from a lethal device to a less lethal device to use in instances where we have to de-escalate or we have to confront somebody who, for example, may have a knife. We can use that tool as opposed to a firearm or something else that would put the officers closer and potentially in harm's way. So it's a de-escalation tool, and we use it to try to reduce the amount of force necessary to control certain situations. So we took our old shotguns and converted them. We colored them orange to make it clear they were not for lethal munitions. And now, rather than having only a couple of this type of tool available, there is one in every patrol car. So they're immediately available. Regarding firearms and ammunition, AB 41 doesn't talk about our handguns, but they do talk about the rifles that we use. You'll know that we were here a few months ago to upgrade the rifles that we use. We appreciate you approving those. They haven't yet arrived. We're still using the old equipment, but we expect in the next 60 days or so to get the new equipment that you authorized, and we're appreciative of that. So all officers will have the same exact equipment with regard to their rifle. All the officers have to undergo 24 hours of training for the post-approved rifle course, so our officers have gone through that. Those that come on new, we do it in their orientation to make sure they're prepared to use all of their tools. And in 2024, we used about 15,000 rounds of ammunition for training. Our command vehicles, we still use our 2004 Weekend Warrior fifth wheel. We use it mostly for community events, as a command post, a place with a little bit of air conditioning to help our folks out with things like the Grand Prix, other outdoor events. It stores our outdoor lighting equipment, and we also use it when we have our DUI checkpoints. Our other fancy command and control vehicle is a 2023 Toyota Tundra that has a box in the back with a whiteboard, thus making it a control vehicle. So it can be considered a command post, so we want to make sure we report it. We'd rather over-report than under-report. We talked about our less lethal equipment in addition to the converted Remington 870 shotguns that are converted to less lethal use. We continue to use the 40 millimeter launcher, which is essentially a really fast racquetball. We have gotten rid of some other items that we used previously. Having multiple platforms creates a challenging equipment and training issue, so we now only use the 40 millimeter and the bean bags for our less lethal munitions that we launch. We use those in mostly tactical operations, again, where you have somebody who might have a weapon or some other object. We're able to use the beanbag as a diversionary device, pain compliance, and try to get them to cease their behavior so that we can take them into custody without using any greater degree of force. This is a cost summary. Last year, we spent about $500 on our Bearcat. We do budget each year about $20,000 for wheels and tires. We haven't had to use that yet, but we want to make sure it's there. The wheels and tires should last a long time because we don't put too many miles on it, but they are very expensive. In fact, to have them switched out, you have to buy the wheel and the tire because the cost to have somebody take apart the 4-piece wheel and the liability for them putting it back together, it's cheaper actually just to buy new wheels as well. So that's our plan, but we expect these to last through this year and maybe another year before we have to start looking seriously at replacing them. Converting the shotguns cost a little over $13,000. Our ammunition was about $7,000. Less lethal ammunition, which are the bean bags and the 40 millimeter rounds, were about $1,600. Our light sound diversionary devices were about $4,300. Chemical agents, none were purchased in 2024, but we do expect, we sent an officer to chemical munitions instructor school, so we can use those in association with our crisis response unit for high-risk situations. So we'll have a number on that next year when we come back for what that purchase is for last year. We also acquired 2 interior drones last year at a cost of $4,200. There's more, I promise. I'm just getting my little clicker thing to work here. Turn it on and off. That's what IT will tell me to do first anyway.
That's okay, maybe they can forward.
Can you help me out, Kevin? Thank you. Our goal for this year is to phase in exterior drones. Those would be drones that we fly outside. We'll obviously work with the base for the altitude at which these can be operated. The Kern County Fire Department has drones that they use for their purposes. Our goal is to get 2 exterior drones, the same pilots who are currently going through the Part 107 FAA certification. We'll fly both the interior and exterior aerial vehicles. We'll use these vehicles as essentially a force multiplier when we have tactical operations. We can use them, for example, to watch the back of a house, which frees up officers to do other things. We sometimes have a limited number of officers just because of the nature of our remote location until the other agencies that participate in the crisis response unit can make it out here to give us a hand as well. They're also good for search and rescue. As well, our vehicle pursuits end in the desert, and we have to go track down the folks that leave those vehicles, and the drone is just another tool to make it a little bit safer for the officers. The technology on the drone can sense heat signatures, so finding somebody in the desert is a little bit safer if we can use a tool like that, as well as search and rescue operations. In addition to conversations I've had with the folks at the base, there are situations where the base could use a drone of this nature as well, as they don't have any with this specific application. So we are always willing to partner with them with anything they need. We know that we upgraded the patrol rifles this year. We got 33 patrol rifles and 1 precision rifle at a total cost of about $94,000. That was approved, I think, back in January. The actions required under AB 41 is that the council approve the items that we have or are prepared to have throughout the year. And I'm prepared to answer any of the questions that you have.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So we'll bring it back to the council. Mr. Gorman?
No, I have no questions, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Hammond?
I just have one on the drones.
Yes, sir.
As far as the exterior drones and power lines and risk factors involved with the power lines, or is there any working with, say, like Edison, Southern Cal Edison on flying drones?
Now, during the training that the drone officers receive, actually I shouldn't say officers because one of our operators is one of our professional staff people for the city, so it's not always an officer that will operate the aircraft. They just have to be trained to look out for them. The exterior drones have collision avoidance, So they have essentially radar that looks for objects that are nearby. There would be no good reason to call Edison to say, hey, we're going to fly in a certain area because they can't do anything about the lines that are there. We wouldn't de-energize a neighborhood for putting the drones up. Generally, their risk is when taking off and landing. Once we get to elevation, these drones, for example, at 400 feet, the drone can read a license plate at 900 feet away. So 400 feet up, 900 feet out, we can read a license plate. So the goal is to get to elevation and make the observations not from near ground level. So the training includes launching it from a place where there is no obstruction above. They go straight up to elevation, then they start to make their maneuvers.
Okay.
And there are some, because the question always comes up with the base nearby, there are some ceiling differences. Generally, they operate at 400 feet, but I think anything north of Drummond, we'd reduce to 200 feet, and we would always notify the tower of any operations that we have going on in the city. Same process that the Kern County Fire uses for theirs. Thank you for the question.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, Chief, so whenever we want to buy military equipment, it has to come to the public forum before you buy that, or how does it work?
Annually, we have to present what we have. If we were to look for something new, we would have to have you approve it. We can't have anything that's an AB 481 item that you don't know about and approve for us to have. We don't yet have exterior drones, so although it's in my AB 481 presentation, as well as in my budget presentation, before we implemented something like that, we will have a couple of community meetings to make sure the public can weigh in on the manner in which we use them, and we can address any of the concerns they might have.
So body cams, they are exempted from this list, I'm good.
It's not a military item, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the body cameras.
Okay, yeah. I don't have any more. Thank you very much, sir.
You bet. Thank you for the questions.
Mayor Endicott.
Yeah, so my main question is the difference between the sponge rounds and the rubber balls. What does that do to the individual that's getting hit with those? And yeah, go ahead.
We don't carry anything that would be considered a rubber ball. The sponge round is what would be considered the 40 millimeter round. Think of it both in color and shape as about half of a racquetball. It comes out at about 300 feet per second. The other item we use is called a super sock. It's a little sock essentially with a tail on it that's filled with little BBs that is not designed to penetrate. Both items are intended to cause pain, to change somebody's thought pattern, to encourage cooperation. They do result in bruising, but again, the intent is these are less lethal weapons. So the goal would be that we would use these in places where traditionally, or for departments that don't have these types of tools authorized, might have to use an actual firearm where the result of death is far more likely, and we'd like to avoid that.
Does it ever get to the point where it, I don't know, can break bones, or is it just bruising that occurs with those? I mean, either's preferable to death, but.
Yeah, certainly having a broken arm is better than dying, so I agree with you there. And I don't believe, and sure, somebody could have a pre-existing medical condition, but for the general public, breaking a bone with either of these would be completely out of the ordinary. Could they break skin? Absolutely. But we target certain areas to make the impacts, the goal is to make the impacts in places that are less likely to cause any significant injury.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
So I don't have a question, but I just want to have a comment. I wanted to, of course, I appreciate you bringing this forward. It's good, and I know it's required by law, but I think it is of interest to the public to see what it is that, when need be, the police force uses. I think it's incredibly important for you to be properly equipped to do your jobs. I think that what I've seen by going on ride-alongs throughout, I mean, a span of years, not just recently. Before I was ever on the council, I went on a ride-along with the Sheriff's Department. And what I saw is the law enforcement often has their hands tied behind their back to do, even when they see things, due to California law, it's hard for you to do your job, so I appreciate that you're properly equipped, and I know that you're doing everything you can to use everything appropriately. So thank you. My faith is in you, and every comment that I get back from the community is a resounding, we appreciate the PD, we appreciate everything you guys are doing. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. We'll continue to do everything we can to keep the trust the community puts in us, but we also appreciate the efforts of the city staff, department heads, the city manager, and the council for giving us the partnerships and tools that we need to give the community the service that they deserve, and we'll keep trying to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
You're
So
welcome.
if you don't mind, we'll take a moment. I'll have some folks come up for public comment, if there is anything. Mike?
So my name is Mike Neal again. It's apparent our chief and our police department are serious about suppressing the criminal element in town, which we all appreciate that. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion, I made it to the council, but now I'm going to make it possibly to the chief representing the police department. But let me just preface this with saying that I just went on an extended trip, went through Oregon and Washington State in the process, which, as we all know, are two other sister Blue Coast liberal states. However, each one of those states has open carry. If you want to carry a weapon, put it in a holster on your hip, you're free to do so. It's also, as I found out from experience, way easier to get a license than concealed carry. It's a lot less costly also. So I currently hold one of those states, and it was just a simple matter to do that. In California, you got to pay a bunch of money for the licensing, the class, the time to take the class, so forth and so on. So, however, most of us know just through the grapevine, Ridgecrest is a pretty well-armed city. That's just taken gratis. I've made the suggestion before that the council provide a limited number of free firearm safety training classes. I don't think that's really necessary. However, my suggestion was putting up a billboard somewhere around town, outside on the major highways, saying, Ridgecrest, the best armed city in California. I think that would be quite effective. I think when criminals headed over this way and saw a sign like that, they wouldn't just assume that was a braggadocio and might decide to take turn and go north or south or go back to where they came from. And I don't think billboards really cost a lot of money either. So it wouldn't be a false statement by any means, and it might be a really cheap way to reduce some criminal elements heading this direction.
Thank you. Is there anything else from the public? All right, I'll bring it back to the council. Is there any further discussion? Yeah, there was a battery going on with the light yesterday. Any further discussion, or can I entertain a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
Mr. Endicott?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
All right, we are on to number 6, discussion regarding the Board of the Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority. Mr. Hammond, you are up.
Thank you. The Indian Wells Valley Groundwater Authority did meet last Wednesday on May 14th. We only had a couple agenda items that I will go over here with you. Item number 9 was the board consideration of Resolution 01-25 establishing a second transient pool. Basically, that had been brought before the board before, so this was just the final approval of it. And it consisted of a second transient pool that amounted to 20,000 acre feet, 16,000 acre feet of which would be offered first to Mojave Pistachios, which they did accept. And then the other 4,000 is allotted to the small farmers to assist them through this period of time. So that was all there really was to that item. The second item was a non-action item, which was informational. It was a legislative update. and just went over some of the bills that are going through, and then some of the legislation on the federal side. And as far as, or at the state and federal, and how the state's budget is affecting it on the state side, and the change in leadership in the White House and the House of Representatives and the Senate. And with the changes, there's replacements of folks that we've been working with on the GA side. So we're just trying to get reestablish those relationships with these different agencies and stay on track. So, and that concludes the two agenda items. One, I think I'm optimistic. It's a good start. We have had numerous meetings with the Water District, the Indian Wells Valley Water District over the past many years. I know Kyle Blades has been on it, Ron Strand, myself, and we have met with the Water District and had discussions with them on, groundwater in this basin. At the last meeting, it was, a comment was made by Director for the Water District, Chuck Griffin, that he feels mediation would be a good thing between the Water District and the GA, which I wholeheartedly do too. I know the three of us has stressed a long time ago, kind of pleaded with Water District, hey, come on board, we could mediate a lot of things. You guys could be carving out your future and goals and direction in the big picture of water in this basin. And so he is going to take that back to his board, and so we'll continue to try to have meetings and see if we can't move this forward. So I think it's a good start. So I thought I'd share that with you. So that's all I have. So any other questions from the council?
Oh, no, I appreciate it. Scott, thank you. Mr. Corman, do you have anything?
The first I've heard about remediation.
Mediation. That would be
Mediation,
where,
forgive me.
That would be where the two parties, right now, they have filed a lawsuit, which is ongoing.
Called adjudication.
Called the adjudication. And so what the mediation would do would be bring the parties together with a judge or mediator that would then help the parties work through their various issues, and
I would certainly support that.
I think a lot of people would, so thank you.
Mr. Roger Rutman?
I was going to comment on the same, so I'm happy to hear that you guys are willing to talk to each other. So that's a good start to resolve this problem. Thank you for taking that initiative. I appreciate that.
You betcha, and I agree.
Mayor Endicott?
Yeah, I will reiterate what Councilman Gorman and Councilman Rajaratnam said. I think the more that we can talk and we could find those commonalities so that we could end this, because at the end of the day, we're all wanting, I truly believe that we're all wanting what's best for our area, and that we're going to have to live in this area together. So I love the fact that both sides are open to talking and mediating this.
Yep, thank you. Concur. Is there any comments from, any public comments? Yeah, I don't think your mic's on. Is it?
If the green light's on? Oh, now hear me. Okay. Let me just be straightforward about the Groundwater Authority and what I see increasingly perceive the attitude of the residents of this valley about the Groundwater Authority's desires, what they're pursuing in the way of this imported water pipeline, the effect of that on the economy of this valley, people's. And as you well know, people don't care about anything else in politics. They care about stuff that hits them in the pocketbook. And the information has been put out, had to be put out by the Water District, not the GA, but they put it out. They spent their dime, paid the consultant, and did it. And it's an extremely unpopular idea all over this valley for 3 to 4, 5 different reasons, either taken separately or altogether. Whether you want to believe it or not, a joint powers authority is a distinctly un-American way of forming a governance board. You don't just have representatives take it upon themselves to sign agreements and say, we're going to form this board and we're going to take on taxing and policing powers of you, which is what all boards exercise. That's exactly what they did. I've stated over and over, I'll state it here, and I've stated it almost every time I go to a water district meeting, what the entity that needs to be the GA is the water district. They're elected. Most all of them know the water stuff really well. A number of them are pretty much experts in that area. None of you guys are at all, even close. So I've suggested, and I continue to suggest, and I think the idea may catch on, that we need to just get rid of the GA and let the water district be a joint powers, just like the city is, be the water district and the GA. The public would be best served in this manner, and then you wouldn't have two agencies with almost opposing agendas, certainly large disagreements, which has resulted in, some sad disputes in public meetings, such as the last one in Bakersfield, where you had each side, pointing fingers and some were factual, but you could see the emotion, even on the part of the lawyers who are supposed to be calm and contained and just giving you, the prognosis from on high about what the facts are. So it's gotten to a point of not being very good. So mediation, I'll be honest, I'll wait and see what Chuck actually has to tell me about that subject and whether he's actually wanting that or not. I don't think that's going to go anywhere just based on past circumstances and actions and statements and so forth. It's like two neighbors that have got on the bad side of each other. It takes a major move to resolve that situation.
It does. Thank you for your comments, Mike.
Tom Wicknick. For you, Scott, just during the last campaign, when we were running for city council, one of the most often things I have people come in to talk to me about is the GA. And being totally honest, I don't watch it real close. I don't watch the meetings. I'm at work. I got a store to run during the meetings because they're during the day. And I usually don't take a lot of time to go back and look at the videos or anything like that. So I'm asking the question as being, I don't know the answer. And the answer is, a number of people kept talking about the finances and the budget of the GA. And that I had heard numerous times that, and this isn't directed directly at you, the GA in general, that money's being spent in huge amounts of money, and the GA doesn't have a budget that could be put out to the public to see exactly how much is being spent on attorneys, on consultants, on testing, on drilling wells, on anything, all the expenses that the GA is spending money on. And now, if I'm wrong on this, I'm asking the question because this is what I was approached to so often during the campaign, is that the information on, like, can you as a board tell me exactly how much has been spent on attorneys this year, or how much has been spent on consultants this year, or anything like that? Do you have that, and is that public information?
Well, I can tell you that the budget is very transparent. It is brought up at virtually every meeting. There is no hidden monies that aren't accounted for. You can see where it's being spent. Yes, it's extremely expensive to battle these lawsuits. A tremendous amount of money has been put back onto the citizens of Ridgecrest because of the adjudication that was filed by the Water District. The GA has to pay for their legal attorneys and firms to battle that. The Water District has to pay for it, so they're using rates of the, or money brought in from from their ratepayers to pay for that. It's an extremely costly thing. But there is, as far as micro, like specifics, like exactly how much was spent on a minute aspect or specific aspect, I don't know. I mean, yes, you can see the legal fees that are broke down, cost, how they're apportioned out. But yeah, you could go to the GA and be answered on any of the questions when it pertains to the budget, the monies coming in, and the expenditures.
Okay, so is there a place that we can go online and get a copy of that budget?
You could go online and see what has been posted on after each meeting. We have a general manager whose job is to present the budget at the meetings through the general manager's report. And, a person could contact her and request it. It's all public information.
It can
So,
be
yeah.
found on the GA's website, which is iwvga.org, and all the documents are there.
Okay.
Tom, I can state, just to clarify it, every meeting, all the receipts are attached to the agenda. So if you look at the agenda, all the expenditures are listed.
No, I appreciate the answers because my head was kind of spinning a little bit with all the people that came to me saying that there's money being spent and people don't know where it's being spent. And I don't know why that would come out that way then.
If I may, Tom, I've been on that board for 7 years, and just like what we see tonight here, it's what I would consider for a town of 30,000, or, that this is pretty minimal attendance. The GA is no different. I read, so what I'm saying is that the people don't come to the GA meetings either, and educate themselves on it. I read an article in the Ag News, I believe in the last month issue, that I don't know the exact percentages now, but it was an extremely high percentage of the farmers had not attended a GA meeting. And so there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of critique and statements being made like what we heard earlier tonight, and what you said that you have heard from other constituents that are probably based on not knowing. I mean, hearsay, rumor, things that get kind of brought up and spread out. So that's just the nature of the process, I guess. We try to be promoteful, I guess you could say, at the city level here for our meetings. I think the city does a good job through social media and letting people know about city council meetings and events and that kind of thing. And the same with the GA. We've hired a consultant to try to help with some of the public output to the public. So, but yeah, I think that's part of why, when you asked why are they coming up and talking to you about that? So.
Yeah. I guess one question, like, how much is the general manager paid?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
Could you find out?
It's down, yes.
All these questions would be much better directed to that public agency.
Right.
I would really recommend that we not speak for another public agency.
Now, wait a minute. This is exactly why we have this on the agenda with the chairman of the GA here to answer questions from the public.
Tom, I don't carry, I don't bring the budget with me to the council meeting, so I don't have those numbers, and I would not speculate or just throw a number out that I would be wrong.
Okay.
So it would be best, like council was saying, if, address it to, as a question to the groundwater agency board,
Okay.
and they'd be happy to give you that number.
All right, well, as our member, our representative to the board, can you get that number for us?
Sure.
Okay, I would appreciate that. So it's a simple question. It's not attacking or anything like that. It's just a simple question.
No, I don't think that's what it is at all, Tom. I think what our council is trying to tell us is that we can't sit up here and speak for that whole other agency.
I'm not
And so-
asking
and
you to.
I know you're not, Tom, but he's advising us legally, hey, just watch, come on, guys, pay attention, that's all. And so I respect that.
Okay, well, I take his comment as trying to shut me down. I can't ask the question.
He's not trying to shut you down, he's just trying to look out for the city.
Okay, because nobody shuts me down. All right, so anyway, thank you for taking my questions.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right. Thank you, Mr. Heyman. I appreciate I know you've been deeply involved. I've always appreciated everything you've done. I know that a lot of the things you've done have been difficult and hard. I appreciate you carrying the torch because it's meant a lot for this entire valley. And I can tell you that I have conversations across this entire town with a wide array, a demographic of folks, and I'm telling you, it's a lot. And I can tell you that a common thing I get is, please tell me you guys, they don't want to come up like this, they don't want to come up here, they don't want to be attacked. They don't want rhetoric thrown at them. But what they do want is they want us to be a part of the solution and do the right thing.
Yeah.
And when I sit there, and sometimes it takes hours, and I can objectively talk about water for days on end. I've been in it for several years now. At the end of that conversation, usually what folks say to me is, well, it sounds like a really hard, almost a lose-lose situation. Thank you for doing the right thing. Keep doing the right thing. And so I say to you, Mr. Heyman, thank you for doing the right thing.
Well, you're welcome. I appreciate those comments. I will say that, and I believe I probably said it at the last GA meeting, but change is hard. People don't like change. It's uncomfortable. It takes hard decisions. And so it's not something that a lot of people want in their lives. But if the status quo process of managing water in California worked, why are we where we are today? There's a problem. There's a problem in California. There's a problem in every western state. There's problems across this United States now. I read articles and follow various basins across this country. This problem's not going away. And we are standing in a position to take a leadership role at a local level, try to work within state guidelines, and bring a sustainable water solution to this basin for now, for the future, for the generations that are going to come after us. And so we owe it to them. We don't owe it to them to kick this can down the road any longer than it has been kicked so far. So I'll stand on that until I'm done. But we have to fix this problem.
Thank you, Councilman. All right, we are on to item number 7. And I'm just, Mr. Reed, you might as well just start the long walk. Yeah, just let's start it. So it's a resolution to accept the base bid for Schedule A, B, and A submitted by Griffith. I'm going to read the whole thing on purpose. Allocate Transit and Intercity Rail Program, TRCP, Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities, AHC, Drainage Impact and Traffic Impact Funds, and up to $300,000 for a 3% contingency for a maximum total of up to $9,255,000. Award a construction contract to Griffith Company to construct the AHC improvement project for $8,960,155.00 and amend a professional services agreement with Wildan Engineering in the amount of $144,708 to provide engineering services for the project and authorize the city manager to execute the contract and agreement. Mr. Reed, take it away.
So thank you, Council and Mayor. First off, I just want to say how excited I am to be here to bring this project to you. This project is loaded with a ton of great things that our community has wanted and our community needs and our community deserves. Packed in this $9 million contract, we have over 1.5 miles of road repair. I say repair. We also have road installation. We're putting feldspar through at Norma. We're reprofiling Norma. We're adding a transit station by the Mojave View apartment site. We're putting in Class 2, Class 3, Class 4 bike facilities. We're completing feldspar from Norma all the way to Sanders. It's going to get full curb, gutter, sidewalk. We're doing numerous ADA improvements along Drummond, Las Flores, and Norma. We're adding solar streetlights. We're adding solar path lights. We're putting in hawk signals where we've seen children in our community that have to cross Norma and Downs to get to school at Las Flores at uncontrolled intersections so we can provide a safer, direct route for them to be able to get to school. And most of all, we're correcting the huge drainage issue that we all witnessed during Tropical Storm Hillary. The sump that's going to go in is massive. It will hold a 100-year storm volume. We're putting in tons of storm drain. We're fixing the flooding problem on Los Flores. As we know, when we get a little bit of rain, it seems to back up right there, right in front of Warner. That problem's getting alleviated. And I am just so excited to do this. We came to you guys earlier. We had to cut some of the nice-to-haves out of this project, which you guys were great and agreed that we needed to deny the bid so we could skinny the project up. But this project lacks nothing, in my opinion. I think it's going to be a huge addition to the community. It's going to make that area beautiful. And I'm really, really looking forward to this. So with that, we did receive 2 bids this time. We got 3 last time. The one that didn't bid this time was Granite, but their bid in the last one was kind of the outlier when you saw where bids were. We're funding this from numerous funding sources to get this done. We received an AHSC grant a few years ago for $4.01 million, around there. About 6 months ago, we found another 1.1 that came available through that grant, to which we went after and got. We're utilizing our TIRCP money, that's our Transit and Intercity Rail Program, to build the transit transfer station and do some of the road improvements to allow the transit buses to safely get in and out of the transit station. We're utilizing our traffic impact for the areas that we're improving on Norma, and we're using our drainage impact for the sump and for all the storm drain that's going in. With that, and with the size of a project like this, it was my typical, I can never just leave a project alone and be happy with what we have. We always have to try to make it perfect. City Manager Strand always tells me, don't make perfection the enemy of good. So I think I might have done that on the first round of bids, but this one is good. We are asking for additional funds for Wildan. We have numerous projects going on right now that my staff is working on, and with all the additions that we put into this, the contract time ballooned from 120 days to 180 days. So the additional money you see in there is for some project management, some labor monitoring support, and for a full-time inspector, so I don't lose probably both members of my staff with how many crews it's going to take for them to do this job in that amount of time for 180 days. And with that, I am open for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. So I'm gonna start with Mayor Endicott because I keep forgetting he's out there in the virtual world and I don't want to do that.
Sitting down.
Oh yeah, you found a chair. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, I did. It's a relief. I guess one of the questions that I have for other Travis is not necessarily about this, but it was brought up to me that is there any possibility, because I just read transit in the title, to get some type of bus stop at the hospital?
So a bus stop at the hospital inside city, we don't typically do, we don't have fixed routes in the city. We only have one fixed route within our whole jurisdiction, and that's our route that goes out to Inyokern. As far as putting a shaded seating area where a dial-a-ride stop could be, that's always something that we could look into doing in the future.
Okay, I do think that that's a needed improvement. But yeah, that was my only comment, I guess. So, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gorman.
Now, Travis Reed, this narrative of big money doesn't yet include finishing what we call the Walmart Canal all the way down into one of our dry lakes across Highway 178. That is not included here, right?
No, this is not. This is another flood zone area that we have within our community that's over off of it's in the Felspar, Helena, Warner. We have a localized depression there that collects water to the tune of about 4 feet in some people's front yards. So we are handling that depression first. We did receive a grant last year. Is that when we got it? Last year that we got it, and we have begun working on a full set of design plans to put the Bowman Channel from Walmart all the way through 178 out to the base. So the actual RFP for professional services for survey and design and all that is actually out right now.
My friend, thank you. I'll be 80 years old this year, and I want to live to see that canal all the way out to Mirror Lake.
Me too, sir. I really, that would be a huge thing for our community, is that it literally is the superhighway to get water out of our
Thank you.
community.
Councilman Hammond?
I just have a question in regards to, if you were to put it into perspective of the city on a map, you know, north, south, east, west, what would you designate this project in what area?
So I would say almost north central. So the majority of the project happens between Drummond, Los Flores, Norma, and China Lake Boulevard.
When we saw that flood from the hurricane flood, did that area suffer? Well, I already know the answer. I mean, there was an area of town there that got a little wet and risky on the potential of catastrophic flooding, and will that address that?
100% this will address that.
And I guess what I'm looking at is, 'cause following what you have been doing with the flood control, from way back, those of us that have been here, one of my hobbies is kind of odd maybe, but when it floods and rains hard, I go driving around and look at, you know, where the floodwaters are going, where they're coming from, and and so with the goal of eventually getting the water moving to the east and out through this, kind of that southeast area, you know, so that the drainage is pushed off of, you know, by the Walmart and coming down from the College Heights, which used to be really bad, and that's been addressed. And then the other area is up by Mahan, when we paved that one street and it changed, you know, direction of water, and I'm sure like with Mahan coming down now, the drainage over toward the, be the south end of Mahan, out in that area, that won't fall under this either, right? That'll be
No.
another portion of that flood control that you're working on
Correct.
in the big picture.
Yes, so the Mahan portion where you're speaking of, where all the water comes down Springer Avenue from county and BLM and all that area up there.
Yeah.
We are addressing that with a vertical curve to try to protect those homes right there and keep that water on the southern side of Springer. So it continues to travel south towards China Lake Boulevard and gets in there's a big, you guys have all seen the drainage next to China Lake Boulevard when you're coming into town past the Shell station. We're trying to force that water that way to get it into that channel so it gets to the Bowman Channel through all the Walmart improvements, rather than snaking through the neighborhoods, dragging mud everywhere and getting into the Bowman Channel at Downs.
Good. So, I mean, you can see a tremendous improvement on the flood areas and control in this town from back, say, like in '84, when, you know, our, quote, the flood of '84 that flooded the base and Mike Lab and everything. But you look at how things have shifted in areas that used to be flooded, and so I commend you on doing a really good job on addressing flood control in this community, and I'm glad to see that this is kind of moving into that area that we know with that, you know,
We learned a lot.
flood that we had year before last, that the potential for some major catastrophic, you know, event there was pretty high. So anyway, good job.
Thank you, and it's a testament to you guys. You guys are the ones that have approved the funds for us to be able to take our ideas and make them a fruition. So the one we did over off of Gold Canyon, I think, is huge for the whole northern area portion of town. Huge for the school district, huge for protecting that school in the future. So we've done some pretty big things that I think will prevent flooding in this community for the long future ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Rajaratnam?
Yes, sir, thank you. Mr. Reed, in your presentation here, it says that we had original bids in February of 2025, which are all rejected. So what was the reason for rejecting them? They came high, I'm guessing?
Yes, so when I came to you guys, the original bid for this project, that was the low bidder, was $12.4 million. $12.4 million was just not in the cards with where our budget was and with the grant funding available. We had a lot of things in that, in the project that were what I like to call are nice to haves, like block walls around the sump, We were having an outside company slurry Drummond and do the improvements to Drummond before the bike path went in, so Danny could keep doing the local streets. So some of these nice-to-have things that we could do in-house, we pulled those out of the project. Went to a slatted chain link fence to save $495 a lineal foot of block wall, right? And there's over 2,600 feet of block wall. So that's a huge price for block wall with prevailing wage. Where fencing, I think we've all seen the slatted green fence at Kerr-McGee. It's a pretty nice alternate solution that has a decent effect. It's not, I wouldn't say not quite as pretty as block, but achieves the same thing where they don't have to look at a giant hole in the ground from their yards. So things of that nature. We also got an HSIP grant that I was not expecting to get for the improvements in front of Las Flores School. And if we would have awarded that contract at that time, before I had gotten what's called an RFA, or request for authorization, into Caltrans, I basically would have given that money away. We wouldn't have been able to utilize it. So there was some certain strategy and some certain things that I felt that we could pull out to make this number more manageable and still have a great project for our community.
Thank you. In the first page, the contingency you mentioned as 3.3%, which is very close to 300,000. But in the resolution, you put 3%. So do you think we need to change that to 3.3?
It's just, it was just rounding. I didn't
Okay.
say for the resolution and title, I don't know, and maybe Martin can school me on that for my contingency. Is rounding acceptable? Or does that need to read 3.3, which is what the actual number is?
It's in the whereas, right, exactly. Thank you.
The bottom whereas, on the first page of the resolution,
Uh-huh.
it says a contingency of 3 plus or minus.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah. Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
I appreciate you doing all this work, Travis, because I remember when this was first approved, when it first went through. It's been a long time coming, and I know I've been curious and wondering when it's going to happen, so thanks for moving on it and getting it done. All right. Do we have any comments from the public?
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Council, I totally forgot one huge portion of this project.
Let's hear it.
We're doing
Yeah.
a bunch of xeriscape and ADA improvements with some of this AHSC money at City Hall.
Yep.
There's multiple ADA ramps, and the grass and the cypress trees, sorry, Ron, we're taking them out. I know you love the trees here, that are starting to die and have disease. That is getting xeriscaped around like by PD. And then working from Parks and Rec. So if you walked in the front doors to Parks and Rec, all the way around the backside up to where the splash pad is. So we're doing a lot of xeriscape to help be water wise and try to save on some of the usage from water here at City Hall.
Keep xeriscaping, that's pool water.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Cool. Any comments from the public? Anything on the phone? We went from, okay, now the light's just off. I'll take it, that's fine, that's good. All right, and I will bring it back to the council. Anybody have anything? Mayor Endicott, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I just want to compliment Travis on his attire. I like the orange tie. Sorry, I can't be in person with you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Must be the Travis thing.
All right, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Second.
Second.
Oh, no, there's time delay there. The mayor seconded it.
Yeah.
Mr. Blades?
Aye.
Mr. Rajaratnam?
Aye.
Mr. Heyman?
Aye.
Mr. Gorman?
Aye.
Mr. Endicott?
Aye.
5 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you very much, Council and Mayor.
Okay, we are on a committee report, so Economic Development Committee. Looks like the next meeting is going to be June the 2nd. And are we still okay for that meeting? Okay. Well, that's good enough. The Finance Committee, do you have that one?
Yep, I'll share that with
Oh, yeah, or
Councilman Rajaratnam. So basically, the sales tax is down a little bit as expected due to the winding down of the base projects, and so we've been anticipating that, and so we are seeing it. We don't feel it's hit that bottom or plateau, I guess you could say. TOT is up, looking good. Overall, the general finances of the city are solid, with no real negative comments or, you know, anything I could add to that. A lot of what we went over in the meeting was in our budget. Some of the questions were asked and answered during the budget that we went over last night. So, Solomon, do you have anything you want to add to it?
We are good.
So,
Awesome, thank you.
Should be interesting.
Infrastructure Committee, next meeting is May 22nd, that's tomorrow. Travis walked out, I was going to ask him if we're still okay for that meeting, but I assume that we are. Okay. Parks and Rec, so Mayor Endicott or Mr. Heyman, do you want to take that one?
Well, Mayor Endicott.
Yeah, I mean, that's the report from June 3rd, so I think it's just an announcement that our next meeting is June 3rd.
Oh, okay, oh, yeah, so that's my fault. That's my fault. No, it's okay. It's okay. All right, other committees, boards, and commissions.
I have one. I attended the KernCog meeting from our conference room B. COG, by the way, KernCog, COG means Council of Governments. It's all the significant cities within Kern County get together, and they sort of organize and synchronize the roads, the highways that connect them. It's taken me this long to dope that out. But this meeting was particularly interesting to me because they had a Caltrans engineer give a brief report on the upcoming construction that'll be taking place on Highway 58, generally from the area of Keene to, where's that off-ramp at the bottom of the hill?
Marvin?
Arvin, the Arvin off-road. I had asked the engineer, actually, could you tell me the scope of the road work that'll be done? And he smiled and he says, oh, it's from milepost 78 to milepost 117. Perfectly satisfied with that as an answer. The figure that I was given, the cost, overall cost construction is at this moment given at $222,700,000. That got my attention. It's 45 miles, lane miles of new concrete pavement, 3.5 miles of new uphill truck climbing lane, and 2 wildlife undercrossings. I thought that was great. I'd like to see how that looks. The 60% design review is scheduled to be finished this summer, and 100% design will be done 1 year from this summer, the summer of 2026. The construction will begin in the spring of 2027, and the construction will hopefully be altogether ended by the spring of 2030. So it's a big, big project, and even though it's going to happen in 3 grand stages, the synchronization between the stages, as I was listening to this engineer make lines on view graph slides, as I used to call them, it reminded me of that video game that I really enjoyed when I was much younger called Frogger. Nobody here surely has ever played that. The people who have a stake in negotiating that route from Ridgecrest to Bakersfield and points beyond may have an opportunity to coordinate what they're doing. In this case, I understand from the budget meeting we had last night that lasted till practically 10 o'clock, Chief Isett has a prisoner transports in excess of 700. a year, which will go that way. I don't know if they may choose to take Highway 178, I wouldn't, but it'll slow things down. It'll slow things down. Maybe there'll be accommodations for vehicles like that. And I wanted to share that with you. And as I learn more interesting facts about what's coming up along Highway 158 or Highway 58, I'll share them with you. That's all I have at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, questions?
Did they say what the expected outcome for this project is? Is it to help with the truck traffic, and is it just going to be the westbound side of it that's being constructed on, or they're working on both east and west?
You have a Greek mind. It's going to be both ways at the same time for each stage, maybe. And the most uncomfortable part is the way it's being done will dictate that only one lane will be available to us in a certain section, certain of 3 sections, while it's being worked on. So imagine on the uphill side, when they're going from west to east, those trucks are only going 8 or 9 miles an hour sometimes, and you'll be right behind one.
Yeah, but so I'm talking about like in the long term, the completed term, is it to facilitate better?
I think what they'll end up with is a truck lane on the far right, let's say, and 2 traffic lanes beyond that. So we'll have a fatter road. It'll be done in ways that lend themselves not to be beaten up quite so badly by those big, heavy, hard as a rock truck tires. So you have great questions. I'll try to remember to ask stuff like that when I do it again, but that's it. That's for my other committee's response.
Thank you, Mr. Gorman. Mayor Endicott, did you have anything?
Yes, I am at actually the Kern Council of Government. And so we just had our LAFCO meeting. I won't bore you with the annexation information, but we did approve one of those. There was a closed session item that I left the meeting early so that I could jump on. I like being in there for public comment. I'm sorry that I arrived late to that, but yeah, we approved annexation, and that's about it.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. All right, we are on to the city manager report.
I have nothing to report this evening.
Okay, we're on to future agenda items. Anything from the board?
I could jump in here. If I may, I'd like to suggest that a good future agenda item might involve updating and clarifying our municipal code, not Robert's Rules of Order. Those are just manners. The municipal code, as it applies to clarifying the way something gets on the agenda, I think we need some clarifying words, some simple clarifying words in there, and it would make everything so much easier. Also, we had Waste Management in just recently for what they called a town hall, and they did get some comments and questions from folks who visited that venue. And from the comments and questions I heard, I think that another agenda item that I could request somehow get into a meeting and be discussed would be to possibly renegotiate the waste management contract so that perhaps those people who want their trash pickup once a week instead of once every 2 weeks could be heard at least, and we might get creative on how that contract could possibly lend itself under renegotiation to accommodate that. It's something that needs to be thought about and perhaps discussed, but on an agenda item. Finally, the an agenda item I asked for, and I don't know at this moment whether or not it's actually happening, would be to discuss the extent to which this council and this city is willing to support the two assembly bills that have attracted everybody's attention, 1413 and 1466. I think that the extent to which those two assembly bills affected adjudication and have ultimately long-range effect on the water pipeline that's currently part of the Groundwater Authority's vector. I enjoyed listening to initially this discussion at the state level in the Water Committee, Diane Something's Water Committee. And it was delightful for me because of how much I learned from it. And I get to listen to these things at the shop because my new hearing aids pick up by Bluetooth from my phone, and I go into YouTube, and you can find these meetings. They're 2.5-hour meetings on YouTube, and just listen to them while you're pottering around, welding or cutting or sanding, doing anything but dealing with customers. Then you got to shut it down and actually focus. But I want to say that I really appreciated the extent to which Chairman Perez, I believe her name is, very, very graciously moderated the tone of that otherwise very contentious issue. The tone was gracious throughout by all who were involved, and I give it to her. If you watch it as I did, you'll appreciate, and it's a little object lesson on tone setting if you find yourself chairing a situation like that. Later, watching the session of the Kern Board of Supervisors meeting, I also learned a lot as people got up and had their say. The issue of, by the way, Chairman Perez back at the state level, she smiled into the microphone and said something that needed to be said in the history of this entire discussion. She said, whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. I think that was ultimately something said by Mark Twain, but I'm not dead sure. Yeah, I learned more, again, when the same issue came up for discussion at the county level, and they didn't come to a consensus there. I believe it was tabled after that. But that's what gave me the idea of having it on the agenda and bringing it up here for discussion. And if somebody's heart is in the right place, perhaps a vote can be called at the end of that discussion. I'd say that was optional, always is. And it seemed to me that we were ultimately compelled to put that on the agenda. Are we there? Who can answer that?
So the only thing I throw back at you is have you talked to the staff about these being on the agenda and what that looks like?
Have I?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So the only thing that I would caution you, I'm saying as a council member, you listed 3 items. That last one, if we get close to discussing things that have anything to do with legal strategy, we should probably move those discussions into closed session. I'm just simply offering that to you as a,
Now,
as advice.
I'm so naive in this regard. I'm happy to stay that way, by the way. But the two other discussions at the state level and at the county level, somehow they skirted strategy stuff that had to go behind closed doors.
So Skip, I'm not saying, and I'm not trying to direct you. What I'm trying to say is, if we have discussions that touch any kind of political strategy, it's best to do closed session. And it's not to say that things can't be moved. I'm just saying that if we're going to talk our legal strategy, that should be, it's more accurate, probably more appropriate to do it there. That's all I'm suggesting to you.
Sure, that would be Travis Endicott's call on the.
Well, I guess, I mean, depending on what Martin says, the truth is, I mean, if we're going, you know, we've been through a couple iterations now. The truth is that's over to you or to Martin.
I believe there is a meeting that is going to be scheduled to discuss just that, special council meeting. I think Mr. Lemieux was conferring with council, and I think that's coming up June 11th. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
We gotta get just we gotta get big switches for these microphones, because this is maddening.
Yes, I did send an email out to council that we are scheduling a special closed session on June 11th at 3 o'clock.
And that was, I understood from a mailing that I got from Ron Strand to help choreograph the subsequent discussion and vote on supporting the two assembly bills, which would be at a city council meeting just like this, either the next one or the one after that. That's where
I would recommend that the closed session takes place as scheduled, and perhaps at that time, in closed session, we can have a more robust discussion about whether or not, or part of that discussion can be moved into open session.
I have a question. Could we, I mean, have it as a future agenda item for the following council meeting? But, you know, I mean, the first thing that we do is we approval of the agenda. If we don't want it on there, then we would take it off. Is that amenable?
I support that, you know. I am for all transparency, so we want to hear from the public. So we want to put this item on the agenda. As you said, future agenda, maybe the 18th meeting.
So
Let's decide on that.
So I'm gonna say something, and if it comes off abrasive, I'm apologizing in advance, because I have a lot of respect for you, Solomon. We've done a lot up here. Skip, I have a lot of respect for you. If this public didn't believe that we had legal strategy against a lawsuit that's against us, I would think that they would wonder what we're doing. And I believe we're trying to be protected by our legal counsel. These are complex, as you heard up at the state, as you heard up at the county. These issues are not to be, like, these things are all very sensitive. I fully respect exactly what you're saying, Solomon. Transparency, absolutely. All we do, as long as I've been up here, we are transparent to the point of filleting ourselves, which is good. That's a good thing. So if that comes off abrasive, I'm apologizing to you, but that's not how I mean it. I think that, as you suggest, Skip, do you want to continue to have that discussion?
I do. I'll rely, as we have over the years, on our legal counsel, standing tense and on the balls of their feet, ready to jump in when we seem to be heading into a sensitive issue, and we'll sit back and be quiet and take their heed. He should have agreed with that.
I will
Yeah.
tell you that I've been to, we were just talking about that, I don't know, maybe 1,000 council meetings in my life. There's no way that I can guarantee you that I can stop any of you from saying something that you really shouldn't say in public that is protected by either attorney-client privilege or confidentiality of a closed session in an open session. I don't want to put myself in a position where I have to be, you can't say that, you can't say that, don't say that. You know, it's just, that isn't going to be the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. And I understand what, you know, what the desire is. Again, my recommendation is, let's have that closed session. You get a much more in-depth briefing from Keith Lemieux, and then jointly make a decision on, with his advice, he's your litigation attorney in this case, on what of it and how much of it you want to discuss in an open session. That is my recommendation.
So why don't we set the date for open session? I mean, we can still have the closed session, and then we can get the guidance from legal counsel. So when public want to talk about this, we should give an opportunity to them to discuss.
Public has an opportunity to talk about it and every time we have a...
I don't doubt the public, though. So I'm here because public elected me. So I have to represent them, and I need to give them a chance to express their opinion. So I suggest that we put this on the agenda for the 18th of June meeting. Mayor Endicott, do you agree with that?
Yeah, again, I think that sets us up well. We'll have the week before to have the closed session. And then again, right, we have to approve the agenda beforehand. And so we can, if it meets the recommendation of the attorneys in the closed session, we agree to that in the closed session, then coming to the next session doesn't, I mean, this is a moot issue at that point.
Mr. Gorman, how about you?
I agree, and it makes sense. It's easy to understand that when you happen to be walking through a minefield, you step lightly. So I'm sure our legal counsel won't find us as bullheaded and intransigent as we may have been perhaps in the past. He'll go, whoa, and he'll find everything will come to a sudden stillness.
So, Rick, as far as if we had the closed session on the 11th, being able to post it for the next meeting, you need how many? You need 72?
Yeah, she's usually like the week prior. It's usually when she posts it.
Yeah.
I know the requirement's 72, but getting it out before is better.
And the same question holds for removing it.
Yeah, if the desire of the council is to have that item, a majority of you posted on the agenda on the 18th, just do it. And add it to the agenda. I'm not sure what item that's going to be, what you're gonna call it.
We
But
call it discussion on AB 1413 and AB 1466.
okay, let's put that on the agenda, and then we'll see what happens.
Okay. Anything else?
Back to my question on the removing it or adding it, is it, if we chose after closed session to pull it, we can still pull it before the 18th? So we have the options. What I'm saying is, do we have that option on both ends?
Yeah, you, as long as I'm informed before I post it on the 12th, that's fine, or you can pull it at the council meeting
Okay.
when you approve the agenda.
All right, are we good? Okay.
For Skip's first two, are we planning on having those as future agenda items as well? I don't know what the wording was for Councilman Gorman on how he wanted to phrase them.
The first two were updating our municipal code to clarify and simplify the process of getting something on the agenda. Apparently, it's not there, and if we go to try to modify Robert's Rules of Order, that would be ridiculous.
So Martin has a response for you.
Thank you, if I may. I think a discussion about setting some type of a rule that's consistent for this would be healthy. My recommendation would be that you agendize an item for discussion and direction to staff. We will present a staff report on various ways that can be effectuated. Actually, amending a municipal code is one of the least favorable ways to do it because it's one of the most difficult things to change in the event you want to change it. Generally speaking, the public entities that do have rules of decorum or rules of order for their meetings have that adopted by resolution. And this way, if there's an amendment or a change, it can be done with one meeting and very simple. So, again, we don't want to get into a non-agendized item, but we can put on an agenda discussion about potential adoption of rules of decorum or amendments to municipal code.
So
this way, the council can review the staff report and have a conversation about how you want to proceed.
So Martin, what it sounds like to me is we have two items. So Councilman Gorman mentioned 3. We have 2 items that need to be sifted through by staff and then show up on a future. Okay, is that fair? Skip?
It is. I'm amenable to that. In fact, that municipal code adjustment makes sense that perhaps it should precede the assembly bills discussion. The other one, renegotiating the waste management contract, and I can just hear our city manager shudder behind me. That's a big deal, and that's something that will have to gain its own momentum, and we're given the luxury of time on that one.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'd
enormous.
put it in the back, but I mentioned it, so
Yeah,
there.
you were around for our original implementation of SB 1383. And you remember how long that took us to negotiate that contract? That was a year and a half.
And the fight for having the biweekly collection in order to minimize the financial effects of
It was a large
the
portion of
state
that,
law
yeah.
was a very long process. I mean, it took a long time to get everybody to that place.
So if I'm interpreting, Skip, what you said, I'm trying to make sure I do what you said justice, you would like staff to go off and sort these items and figure them out to get onto a future agenda.
That's right, sort of made an appointment in the future to let it show up. A question I kept hearing was, what would it cost? That may be a figure that we can come up with behind the scenes almost. It doesn't involve negotiations as much as it will involve asking somebody who could generate that figure within waste management to sharpen their pencil and come up with it. What would it cost if indeed we wanted weekly pickups?
So
That's the question.
We're strained from the agenda item. I really would recommend that we don't have a discussion on this issue.
Okay.
Now I hear it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. On to mayor and council comments. Depends on who wants to go first, but Mayor, do you want to go last or do you want to go first?
I'll go last.
Okay. Mr. Gorman.
I've spoken enough.
No comment.
None.
I have a few things. The first thing I want to say is congrats to the Saracoso graduates. I think that just happened. What was it, last week? Chief, I think you were there, weren't you? Yes, sir. Yeah, so big congratulations. That's, it's a lot of people moving on, big milestone in their life.
There was the largest graduating class of the entire Saracoso Community College in the region, as well as the most people to walk at any one time was this year. So they continue to grow their programs. It was really, really nice to be there and get to support that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. So if you couldn't hear, what the chief was saying is the graduating class was enormous, and the programs continue to grow. Okay. And then we have high school seniors are getting ready to graduate, as I understand it. So Emmanuel and Mesquite are going to have their ceremonies, I think it's next Thursday, and then Burroughs on Friday. And this is somewhere around like about 450 young citizens moving forward in the world. And so it's an impressive thing, and that's why we do everything here. A few more notes that I took in my phone. Yep, want to appreciate, and so Mayor Endicott, if you have anything you want to add to this in your comments, but Los Flores Elementary School showed up today and toured around City Hall, and that was amazing. I think it was somewhere around 90 students. They got to see how local government worked, talk to the mayor, tour around City Hall, get an idea of how the sausage is made, so to speak. So we appreciate the parents, the school district, making that happen. All right, Mayor, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So first, I want to start with, we don't normally do this, but my next door neighbor, Carol Pearson, it's her birthday today. So I just wanted to wish her a happy birthday. This has been a weird dynamic for me. I have YouTube up to watch it, and it's on a delay. And for some reason, I can't see myself unless I move my mouse. But it's like I'm back teaching during COVID, where I'm just staring at a blank screen and hoping to get a response. I have liked the wide views from City Council, so I've got to see that Aaron is there. Hi, Aaron. I hope you mentioned something in the newspaper article about Kyle's hair and the majesty that it is. I also saw, I believe it was Alex Gross. Good to see you. Mike and Tom getting up and talking. I don't know if I missed anyone else. Again, I thank people for coming up and talking. I was sad to miss the presentation for Elliot Duff and putting in the time to work for the city. I appreciate that. I did want to talk about the trash town hall. I think we had a total of 5 people that showed up for it. I think it was very informative. The waste management was very gracious with their time, answering questions. I got to learn some stuff, what I cannot recycle. I had been putting styrofoam in there. Turns out you can't do that, so I will no longer do that. Sorry, waste management. We had Los Flores third graders come to City Hall today. I want to give a big shout out to Jennifer for putting that together and making sure it ran smoothly, or as smooth as it can go. To the parents that showed up with the kids, I took lead from Councilman Blades on how to engage them in City Council. And I tell you what, I had an absolute blast with the kids. Let them come up and sit at all of y'all's seats. They got to speak on the microphones, had them bring up an issue that they wanted to solve, from the comical of wanting ice cream at every lunch to pocket tacos, I believe, was another issue. I don't necessarily know what that is, but we really got to talk with the students and hopefully cultivate some civic engagement with them, which I think is great at any level. Friday, I'll be going and talking to students at Murray about civics and government. So I'm looking forward to that, the change in age, seeing how different the questions are. Apparently, the third graders want a Sephora, which I still don't know what that is. I think it's a store, but they want one of those. So the next time you guys are at ICSC, if you can look out for one of those. Lastly, I just want to focus on this long weekend that we're going to have. It is Memorial Day, and I do not wish to confuse or conflate that with Veterans Day. Memorial Day is the day that we remember the fallen, the ones that aren't here, the ones that gave their life, gave all in the service of their country. And so while you are taking the time to grill out and have your special weekends and the extra day off, also remember the sacrifice that those fine men and women have gone through. They paid the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have the freedoms that we have. I have family that has fallen in the line of combat, and so this weekend I'll be thinking of him. But yeah, I just hope that everyone remembers the reason for this holiday. It's not to thank a veteran for their service, but to actually sit and contemplate what it means for those individuals that were willing to put it all on the line. So that is the end of my comments. So
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we are now going to adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.